Ladies and gents, welcome back to the EU Gears Pro League Live here in the summer quarter. It is week number 3. My name is Ton and I am here once again with Toby Campbell. We just seen Rated R pretty much dismantle No Mercy 5-1, 5-1. Very convincing from the current number 1 team in Europe in the Pro League. But now we move into a game that could be very, very interesting, Toby. We're going to see Elevate taking on Oxygen. Now, Elevate, of course, losing to Rated R in week number 1 was not how they want to start things off, but they will be wanting to keep up with them as best they can, and Oxygen are probably going to be their biggest threat.
Absolutely, it's a must win for Elevate. It's safe to say. After an amazing European major, you'd be fancying them going into the Pro League to really prove that they can stay on top of that one. But again, Rated R, they took that early victory, and what a fashion it was, right? Quickly going back 5-0 that last map on Exhibit, which shocked everyone, right? When I was watching you two cast that one. But now Elevate, they still have to keep their heads held high and make sure that they are flawless from this point onwards to keep up with Rated R. And Oxygen have been a very good team thus far in the Pro League, of course, 1-1 themselves also. With the new players of Ashen's and Skills since the last season, of course, formerly Regal Reserve was this roster. I'm curious to see how they actually perform today in this one.
Well, let's talk about Elevate first. As said, we were a little bit surprised to see how they lost that first game. Of course, we went all the way to a map number 3, and Rated R dealt with them on Exhibit 5-0. And both these two teams just seemed to trade that map. But irrelevant of that matchup, Elevate would have been disappointed with how that one unfolded and will want to cement themselves as that number 1 team once again. But, you know, for me, like, I always sort of see them as that number 1 team, but it's always a little bit backwards and forwards. There's always the question of if Rated R are there with them. And then Rated R beat them. And then suddenly we're like, oh, well, Rated R are the best. And then suddenly Elevate will beat them a couple of times in a row. So I think for them, they would just like to see themselves consistently back there rather than inconsistently.
Exactly. And it's not something they're used to, right, being challenged for the throne. They've had so many years of being this top European squad, all dominating, that everyone across Gears esports in the world are aware of for dominating such a huge region. But the fact that Rated R have really been challenging them for that and also doing it in this new quarter, they're not going to be happy with themselves. And I'm curious to see how they're actually going to perform today. If I was them, I'd be upping the training. You know, I'd be trying to be a bit more consistent with everything you possibly can control, because you're really being contested now and you're forced to perform at your absolute best long term, given that they've got this rival of Rated R now. And so I'm curious, as said, how are they going to do today? How flawless are they going to be? And definitely they'll be looking at a 2-0.
Yeah, that's where they're going to be looking to go to. But the team they're going up against is Oxygen, of course. Oxygen, they started off very, very well against No Mercy. Things look pretty good there. But going up against Rated R last week, we obviously didn't get to see the game. But based on the scoreboards, etc., it did look like it was a very, very close one. Now, for them, obviously, the next step is trying to beat Elevate. Yes, okay, they lost to Rated R, but as time goes on, maybe this team will become a little bit more practiced, will become a little bit more dangerous. Do you think Elevate have got much to worry about here? Because I actually think they do. I really think this team, ever since they brought in Ashen's and Skills, have looked very, very good. Immediately when it did happen, I felt bad for Physics and for Jet Reaction, of course. The fact that this one obviously didn't work out for them, but it has to be said, Skills has come in there and done a job, but Ashen's has been outstanding for this Oxygen team ever since they started in week number 1.
Absolutely, and Ashen's has been this standout player for a long time, right? He's been doing so well. He was kind of like a new blood, if you will, in the European scene back towards the end of Gears 4. But now he's found himself in this roster of Oxygen with the likes of Fractures and Cougars, who have also been returning to old form back in Gears 4. Of course, we spoke about that in the European Major. Fractures having some of the best plays, right, of the European Major individually. A very impressive showing from him back then. And so with this new roster of Oxygen, with a new blood of Skills, you're hoping that Skills can be kind of like Ashen's in that sense and really be a come-up player and prove himself as an individual and as a teammate on such a high level. And likewise, Zorkos, we haven't touched upon him yet. He's had a very fantastic time in previous moments of Gears esports. And Gears 5, he's trying to prove himself as still one of the consistent players on that front line. Back in Gears 3, of course, he was known for that. Gears 4 as well. There's a lot of potential in this roster, it's safe to say, to summarize, Chris. Elevate a very difficult opponent, but can they do it today? Can Oxygen cause the upset? I'm wondering. Can't wait to get into this one.
And just a curious thing as well, I've got egl.tv/gears-pro-league open. Of course, I've got the stats going, and we do have last week's stats in there. So just paying attention to that, I'm looking at it. 4 out of the top 5 are Oxygen players in terms of KDA. Now, like, I'm not going to delve too much into it because obviously they played up against No Mercy. I'd imagine Rated R's will be elevated up there a little bit as well. But the fact that Ashens is above and beyond the highest KDA, and this is bearing in mind they lost to Rated R as well. 4.13 is his overall KDA so far. So that's pretty good going, it has to be said. I'm intrigued if it can still keep that sort of thing up. In week number 1, he had a 9 KD against No Mercy. So, I mean, that's a solid effort. If he can keep up this sort of play between themselves, if Ashens can continue that level, they've got a really good chance here against Elevate, I think. But for Elevate, it's a must-win because they know they're going to have to come up against Rated R. I say it's a must-win. If they go into the next half of the season, they win all 3 of their games, then suddenly, we're on a bit more of a level playing field. But it'll be nice to... we've always been talking about Rated R. We've always been talking about Elevate. These top 2 teams. It would be great if we had the consistent Oxygen performance in there, causing the problems over and over again. But let's have a look how this one is going to break down in terms of the picks and bans. Now, District gone, Exhibit gone. So Elevate choosing to get rid of that one. We know that it was a pick that they do actually go to, last week, Oxygen. They went for Exhibit. So that one going from Elevate. Icebound coming in, Training Grounds then coming in next for Oxygen's first pick. Asylum and Bunker then going respectively, and Vasgar will be our last map. What are we thinking of these maps, Toby?
Well, overall, super predictable picks and bans thus far. Elevate the love Icebound. Training Grounds is a go-to pick for Oxygen, formerly Riga Reserve. Of course, we mentioned it was a very popular map in the European Major. Lots of teams really favouring themselves on this. Academy Reunited was another team that comes to mind on this map in particular. And so it's nice to see more Training Grounds, actually. A very obvious pick for Oxygen. I expect Elevate to come out, all guns blazing on Icebound. 67% there. You can see pick rating, and it's no surprise. And another one as well, Exhibit, banned out by Elevate, right? You mentioned that. It is a strong map for Elevate, but historically it's a strong map for every team, it seems like, in the Pro League, especially Rated R, which, of course, they're going to have nightmares about that 5-12 loss in that final map in the first week of the Pro League. So, I respect Elevate for doing that and just banning out that map and perhaps discarding it at this point, and going forward trying to focus on more on their strengths and maps where they can have a little bit more of a gap to separate themselves from their opponents, rather than just going, hey, we're a little bit better than these teams on this map, let's go for it. Be a bit more smart, be a bit more tactical about it, and perhaps put that map to one side as your instant ban and focus elsewhere. I like that a lot.
Well, that's the thing for Elevate. If they are suddenly struggling on Exhibit, and I think if you cast your minds all the way back to the very first quarter, they loved Exhibit and they would pick an Ellie every time they could. Now it's to the point where everybody's sort of caught up. They know how to play it, and they do not want to be there. So Exhibit is going to probably be a stable ban for quite a decent amount of time up against the top teams if you are from, of course, Elevate. But for Oxygen, District going, maybe just not wanting that fast flurry, those big starts coming in. They want to try and pick apart Elevate where they can. Icebound is going to lend itself to those big initials anyway, specifically in the second half, I should say. But, the first half is still a little bit about that initial of it towards trading post and getting control of up top at B if you can. So let's see how they do. Their Training Grounds is a bit more of a, I want to say it's initial heavy, but it depends how they want to play it in terms of the weapon picks, of course, Toby. If we're going to see some drop shots put down in the middle, then that will get interesting. But ultimately, I'm excited to see how Oxygen do. I want to see how they progress. Obviously, a very close game against Rated R last week, losing that one 2-1. I'm interested to see if they can maybe push Elevate all the way as well. I think we might see Vasgar here. I just have a feeling about Oxygen. The fact that they can push Rated R all the way to map number 3 makes me think they should cause problems for Elevate. Theoretically, they should.
Something I didn't actually touch upon here is the ban of Bunker from Elevate, right? On what earth does Elevate ban Vasgar, or rather Bunker, instead of Vasgar, right? If that could be the last map, I'd much rather be on Bunker if you're Elevate. So that's an interesting one for sure. Even Asylum, perhaps, as well. Again, it comes back to the argument about, you might be better than other teams on it, or like really good at it, rather. But relatively speaking, your opponents are also quite good at that. So that margin, that room for error is a lot smaller on maps like Exhibit and perhaps Asylum. So I would have expected them to perhaps ban that out instead as well. So I'm not sure right now, to be honest, on that front. And it's maybe a strategic nature that I'm not kind of aware of, or maybe some scrims have not gone the way that they like for Elevate on Bunker. But, back in the European Major, cast your mind back. Very strong map for them against the likes of Rated R with a very convincing round count. That's something they want to keep in their wheelhouse rather than ban outright. So, if it comes down to Vazgar, I think that's a very good setup, if you will, of the maps for Auction.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you're very, very right in the sense that it is strange that Elevate wouldn't just pick Bunker, because notoriously we've always seen them be relatively decent. I mean, pick 33%, of course, coming in there for them. So they do, of course, pick it over the past 2 weeks. So interested to see why that is. Maybe they've seen something last week that, although they wouldn't have, would they? I was about to say they've seen something last week, but they wouldn't have.
On the stream, yeah. You can't. No one can see it, yeah.
So maybe I was about to theorize that maybe they've seen something on stream last week to think themselves, well, Oxygen are not playing that correctly. We could definitely outplay them in this respect. Maybe they just want to play them on it. Maybe they want to try and expand the map pool, try some things out on the competitive side of things. Who knows? But it is a strange one. It has to be said. And if we get there, we will be questioning it. But Elevate will be looking to dispatch this team within 2. I don't think Training Grounds is a bad map for Elevate by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's still a pretty decent one. I don't know. I struggle to pick bad maps for Elevate. That's the thing. Apart from Exhibit, of course.
I mean, draw a comparison between Training Grounds and Bunker for a second. Setups can be so impactful on both of those maps due to the open areas, the height advantage that both posts provide, if you will, the bunker up top on Bunker itself. There's just no man's lands around it, essentially, and towers to Lancer from. Training Grounds is all towers, 3 towers, essentially, to dominate on. And so, yeah, you'd expect Elevate to do very well on this map. Auction Esports, it's their go-to map, it's safe to say. Training Grounds is much more of a unique map pick, as discussed. And so I think they're just relying on really keeping that as a strength of theirs and improving, always trying to pick that one against top teams like of Elevate. So I'm wondering, can Auction do it? It's a tough one, I think, prediction-wise. Chris, just get on into that a little bit prematurely, perhaps. 2-0, I'm thinking, for Elevate.
Oh, okay, 2-0 Elevate. I'm going to go 2-1 Oxygen. I don't know. I've got a feeling, and this is just me going on a whim here. I just think that if they can, obviously if they don't force map number 3, then they are going to obviously beat 2-0 or win 2-0. But I just think if we do go to third map, I just favor Oxygen. I don't know. I've never once sort of sat here and be confident. I say that confident in Elevate to win Vazgar. Of course, we know they have the ability, but it's not necessarily a one that they would pick a lot. So I'm interested to see what happens, but I'm going to go bold. I'm going to go 2-1 Oxygen on Vazgar. Last map. I think that's where we're going. But up against Elevate, this very much could go in any different direction. Elevate could win this one 2-0, and we wouldn't probably bat an eyelid. But here we go into Icebound. Can Oxygen show us what they've got here against Elevate?
Cougars on the front spawn. He's not got in there too fast, and honestly, Elevate have been so strong in his trading post, but all of a sudden, Oxygen Esports do light things up. They get 3 kills off the bat, already overextending. Cougars is looking for Crimsons. He's going to get taken out, and suddenly Oxygen have flown across the map of Icebound and picked up a round through elimination.
I'm telling you.
My goodness me.
I'm telling you, they're good.
They're good, mate. I'm telling you, bro. But
very, very good. But there you go. That's a very, very quick round. And ultimately, it just comes down to winning every single one of your gunfights. It's just one of those where they've walked through Elevate, but have they awoken the beast? That's the thing. Elevate will be... You're not seeing that meme where the players are sort of sitting back and then they sit forward when they're playing games?
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's got to have done that, surely.
Yeah, I mean, Jackfex was on his own there in the trading post, like deep inside the training post, and he was essentially being 3v1'd. He's in there, not first, but he's trying to get up close and personal. As soon as the stun is released, he's got the first down, and Crazed and Co have worked cohesively to pick up kills. And you said it right, the image was essentially imprinted on their mind right there. As it seems like they've all leaned forward. They're already overextending as Zorkos will get taken down. Whatever you can do, we can do better, perhaps they're saying, as they quickly respond. 3 seconds slower they did it in, Chris, to be exact. But no, much more convincing from Elevate. They threw more bodies into the trading post. And JackFax is doing what he does best on this map, and that's get in and win those shotgun fights.
And I think if anyone is sort of looking at this game and is like, well, how has that happened? How both these two teams just went in that direction? I think it comes down to the first couple of kills. You win those first couple of fights, suddenly you got the numbers advantage. Suddenly, you're laughing.
Yeah.
Shocks down for both teams, though, as we expect this fight to Trading Post to continue. Hopefully it keeps the intensity. I tell you what, even if this went to round number 9, we'll be done in about 10 minutes if it keeps going this way.
I'm sure anyone who just tried to grab a drink before this map started are just coming back and, wait, 2 rounds have been played? Is my stream buffered or something? Well, this is different, though. Looking back at the gameplay, A and B taken very quickly from Oxygen. They've responded by not contesting that trading post with a quick capture instead. But already Elevate rotating round. Oxygen showed a massive amount of respect to not even be anywhere near that B hill. And Eddie, of course, that is Ashen's, changed his game attack. He's going to get down on high drone, but, you know, Elevate just make it look too easy, in fact, as they open things up top. They rotate down bottom, but Eddie will find Phelpsy here as things pause for just a moment.
Well, both these 2 rounds have been over by this point. Previous 2 rounds, I should say, as we head into the third. A little bit of a slower one here, and of course, Eddie or Ashen's making this push over towards B. That's help from the rest of his team here as well. We can see there is a presence from Oxygen here. As Elevate sit back and allow them to make the push, but right now, Oxygen are the ones that can sit on this if they want to. The win condition will be with them, albeit I don't expect it to remain a 15-point gap all the way through.
Ooh, Cougar's jumping into a pool of ice there, essentially. He's alive, though. And they've lost trading post control. That was always the play for Elevate, right? To get back control and then go for the effective pinch onto the B hill. But Cougars does get a kill on the front of that hill. Able to get to the other side as well and find cover there. Crimson's does find skills. Cougars will surely get pinched right now, bar a miracle. Yep, Hydron will find him, and JackFax still holding on to control of this all-important trading post. He needs to be careful, though, he doesn't get flanked.
Hydron's going to look in B, so there you go. Elevate will start chipping away at that lead, which was only slight from Oxygen. 70-second win condition now for Elevate as it does start to tick on through. Here comes the Blizzard. That's going to give Oxygen maybe just that little bit of cover to at least decap. They are half a second behind here. A little bit quicker, and that would have made things very, very interesting. Fractures tempted for it. Eddie is there to try and linger around as well, and they're juggling this very, very nicely. Is there going to be anybody there to actually secure it? Not quite. But they do force the shot grenade coming out of Elevate. The win condition still with the boys in red, though.
The shot grenade isn't going to connect as they wanted, though. Wanted to try and get it down.
It was still nice to zone, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely stopped them from capturing for now, but it was definitely an opportunity for Elevate to make a play and pick up the kills down bottom because they don't have control up top. And now with that opportunity gone, they'll have to either wait for another shot grenade or they'll have to make a play up top. And right now, in fact, it's Oxygen who are starting to stretch the legs up top. They're looking to see if they can potentially get a triple cap or a diversion, if you will, of fire, but Craze and Phelpsy aren't having any of it. The capture comes through, but not without the casualty of fractures. The score lead is just the way of Oxygen. You see a little bit of an overextension. Hydron going wide. Eddie's going to get taken down. Crimson's picking up a kill, and this is it. Elevate are going to overextend to the A hill now, and Oxygen are forced to get themselves back into this game.
They have to push for C. They will be able to grab a hold of that. But if you're Oxygen, you got a hold of it and lingered just a little bit too long, didn't they? Elevate just flicked the switch and started running. It's going to be a close one, though. The COG team win condition is still here, as Oxygen do have a hold of C momentarily, but that one is probably going to change hands in a second. Elevate, have they done it in time here? But look over towards B. It's a good rotation by Oxygen. They have managed to deep cap, but they need to try and find these kills if they can. Eddie finds one. Cougars and Azorkos all combining, and all of a sudden, everybody from Elevate starts dropping, and Oxygen have just turned it on at the right time. Nobody there for C. Oxygen will lock in their second round. And that just comes down to a flurry of kills towards the end. But they get the job done when they need to. 2-1.
And the surprising thing about that, Chris, is that Oxygen were kind of in the driving seat of that whole round. The score might have been back and forth and very close for the majority, but it was Oxygen who were always in control of trading post, it seems. They had it the most amount of time. They were always on the hill trying to capture the B hill, and Elevate were just trying to play catch up the whole time. You know, take advantage of Atlanta down, try and shock them off, try and push and retake for the trading post. They were never really being proactive as they usually are. And that's the thing we usually describe Elevate with, right? Is proactivity. They're always pacing the game to their liking rather, and forcing their opponents into a reactionary state. But right now, it's Oxygen who are doing just that. They're playing the game and forcing the meta of the round, if you will, to play out the way they feel it should be. So I'm wondering if Elevate are going to change things up a little bit now, because it's not been looking too good so far.
Push in for Oxygen. Comes in towards B. Very, very nicely done. But they have to be careful not to lose it here. Phelpsy going to push around, will get the kill, but will sacrifice his own life for it. But maybe we're going to see another one of these stalemate kind of rounds. Jack has constantly had pressure inside the trading post, but he's, well, not going to have anything else there as he's just been taken down and will be wiped out by Cougars a little bit later, allowing that length of time, at least out of the game, to extend as long as possible. B now being capped. It's a nice smoke by Fractures. Is it going to be enough for them to get a hold of it? Not quite. Fractures drops very, very low. It's good fire coming out from Crazed. His Lancer is so strong. One of the strongest weapons on Elevate. Putting shots in where he can, just trying to frustrate. Crimson's is going to bleed out over towards B though, so maybe this is the opportunity now for Oxygen to try and get a hold. As Crazed backs down, he concedes. And Oxygen in the driving seat in round number 4.
Elevate trying to get back trading post control. Zorkos has done well to get one down, and Crazed though and co have still forced that player out, and they've got control back now to keep themselves in this game. Oxygen, they've still been so aggressive on that B side of the map, always trying to capture it with a very fast opener down bottom that seemed to pay off. For now, the question is, can Elevate not only break this hill, but maintain control up top? Or is Oxygen just going to throw themselves back into this game with relative ease?
Oh, it just seems as if Elevate, though, have forced the issue here a bit. It's just a case of getting the smoke down, 3-man stack. Easy as that, isn't it, Toby? Is that how easy it is? I don't know. Oh, Zorkos. Oh, he could have done well landing those shots. I don't think Hydro knew he was there. Can he find anything? Hydro, not quite. The cavalry comes through. Cougars is there to help out. Cougars starts to push, and I tell you what, the domination's ticking in here. Elevate should be able to answer it. They do so. It looking like it's going to be conceded by Oxygen, or is it to get their player back up? They're still fighting for it. They got a hold of B as well. They need to keep them off at all different angles. And how on earth have Oxygen won that round in that way? 3-1. And they just hold off and win their gunfights across 3 different points in the map. Only one member of Elevate was down at the time, but I think they just keep them off it. Well done to Oxygen. 3-1.
Concerning first half, it's safe to say, Elevate. Remember, it's their pick. It's a strong map of theirs. The pick percentage shows it 67%, right, so far this quarter, with a 100% success rate. But now, backs against the wall, they're definitely getting outclassed right now by Oxygen. I'm sure they'll be very happy in the second half. Elevate just need to step it up at this point in time. In every department, slaying-wise, teamwork, be a bit more aggressive, utilize their skill, and trading posts. They're not even going to challenge it here. They're going to sit back, play for a retake, and now rotate round over towards this E-hill and sit up upon rocks. But it's not like Elevate to be so defensive, as said. That's the one mantra you can say about this team, is they've always been proactive. They've always been teaching other teams, essentially, how to play maps, how to work as a team, how to work cohesively. And here, it's much more so Oxygen in this driving seat, as mentioned, and they are looking very, very good, is this COG side.
Oxygen waiting on the push, but nobody able to get a hold of E, and I think Elevate know that it's hard to get a hold of initially, isn't it? The aggression, it doesn't necessarily need to come through, but Elevate are happy to concede trading post and work from here.
Yeah.
What they're waiting on, but...
I mean, you might have noticed it, folks. Elevate essentially captured the home hill with 2 people to try and capture the hill a little bit quicker than their opponents, knowing perhaps that this would be a stalemate for a while. And given that they have the score lead, I think they're literally playing for the stalemate victory, essentially, here. They've got just a slight score lead that it forces Oxygen to capture the hill or break one. And as long as Elevate can prevent them from doing that, they'll win, right? But you don't see it often. But if you're going to try and do it, it's on Icebound.
I mean, the thing is that when you do this, I suppose it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going for the 1-cap win. it means that your opponents are the ones that have to make the move, and you're allowing them to do that. You're happy for them to do that because you have something that you can rebuttal with. You know what you're going to be able to do. You know where you can sit, where you are going to be able to set up, because Oxygen are going to have to make a move at some point. Elevate know that, and that's maybe what they're playing off.
That's what they're banking on, that's for certain. They don't actually expect themselves to win from this very position right to the end, but all they wanted to do is essentially put the stressor on Oxygen and force them to make the play. Shot grenades coming. Ooh, that Incend was close. Here's the capture. And that's
There it is.
Very simple. Zorkos is going to get downed. Is he going to be able to get out, importantly? Yes, he is. And now Elevate, they haven't got a kill out of that. In fact, it's Fractures who are the awesome Incend right at that choke point, stopping Crimsons and Phelpsy from pushing through. And it was just a little bit too easy for Oxygen, right?
You know what? It is far too easy, and it just seems as if Elevate's game plan just sort of fell on deaf ears there. It was one of those where the Incends were up, they don't land them, and all of a sudden they have to fight back themselves. Skills, a very, very nice shock straight onto E, and there's absolutely nothing Elevate can do about that. It will give time for Oxygen to rotate around if they need to, or at least just try and find some information, but a couple of players have dropped. It's momentarily a 3v5. This is where Elevate's push is going to come on in, but look at the score. They need to get it as soon as they can. I think it might be enough for a win condition, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, not quite. It's very, very close, though. Oxygen can win on one cap here, and they're quite happy to set up. You can see Elevate now. They're going to posture. They're going to wait. One player about to come back up. That is crazed. They have 25 seconds to go. Eddie and Skills, though, putting down plenty of good work here. Can they start to clean these kills? Up there goes one, but then the kills are starting to rain on through. Eddie is eventually going to be able to answer back with the kill onto Jackvex. Oh, sorry, Jackvex just got one kill. It was Hydron who went down. They have to go within 10 seconds. Are they going to be able to get there? Eddie with a good shot and gets away as well. D is not doable for Crimsons right now, and that's a very, very nice round out of Oxygen.
My, oh my. Stunning. Absolutely brilliant from Oxygen. You know, it wasn't only the execution of that capture and keeping everyone alive and also getting a kill to stop them in their tracks, Elevate, on that retake, but it was also the timing. As soon as Oxygen were able to set up, Elevate very quickly realized they have 30 seconds to not only get the middle hill back, but also to overextend. And with so much pressure, with so little time, Oxygen were able to take advantage. They did the difficult job of answering Elevate's opening message. Hey, you're going to have to capture this hill, break it, if you want to stay in the game. And their reward, after an amazing retake, is the round. 4-1 the score, and a drop shot being placed.
It's map point as well. Now this detracts away from that fight at E at least. Because the Oxygen have went to get a hold of F initially, but Elevate haven't sent anybody there, so they really do want to try and get a hold of something here if they can. Crimson's down, Fractures! And there goes the molly coming in from Eddie. Cougars comes to clean up. So well coordinated by Oxygen. They've been just so impressive ever since that first week. We've seen them come up against No Mercy. We knew that No Mercy were not necessarily flying, but ever since then, they've looked very, very solid. But saying that, Phelpsy may have just slowed down this attack coming out of Oxygen. E is still contested, thankfully, for Elevate. Drop shot coming in. The trading post, though, that's a dangerous position to be in, and it's looking like this round could have went over towards Oxygen, but it seems as if Elevate is still there on one of the home hills. D has been decapped now and will be captured by Elevate, but even if they get back into this round, look at the score in the top left corner.
It's huge. And Eddie, still one drop shot left in the tank. And perhaps he could have used that there to overextend to the enemy's home hill to ensure they can't come off respawn and break that domination, but went with a safer approach of going up top. Elevate have defended their home hill and they've overextended towards the F hill, but boy oh boy is it a difficult task to come back into this game. Eddie finding Hydron there.
Finds another one. Nicely done. But they haven't been able to capitalize on the advantage that they did have. Elevate have managed to stay into this one. It's mostly thanks to Phelpsy. Good Lord, Cougars. Gets away as well. Oh, everything is falling into place for Oxygen right now. Bearing in mind, this is an Elevate pick. We'll be heading over towards Oxygen's map after this. It's still not done, though. We've seen Elevate come back from this sort of deficit before. Not just in the round, but in the game, but they're going to have to do so. within the next 20 seconds or so.
Here it is. Break will come through. No shots being sent their way. 30 seconds on the clock. Still, though, Skills does pick up a kill off screen. Incense and Shock. Phelpsy gonna get taken out. That could be it.
That could be it. Fractures and Co now just forcing their will upon them. Look at the score difference, though. Even if Elevate get a hold of E here, they're still going to get over towards F. Is there anybody there? Yes, there is. They're waiting to go, but they're not winning the gunfights. They're not going to win the round. They're not going to win the map either. That is a 5-1 convincing win coming out of Oxygen on Elevate's map. Icebound is theirs. They're 1-0 up in this series against Elevate.
Can you believe it? 4 rounds in a row as well. It wasn't only the first half that Oxygen were playing so well, but the second. And Elevate, they try the fiendish thing, if you will, of capturing that home hill and playing for the retake, essentially, in that first half, or the first round, rather, of the second half, and just didn't pay off. A quick, brief look at that scoreboard there, and you can see that Oxygen actually outslayed Elevate as well. So it wasn't just strategically, but it was also a slaying game that Oxygen were playing so well, and boy, oh boy, have they looked impressive, Chris. It's safe to say a lot of energy in this changed roster of old Regal Reserve, if you will. And Skills, he played very, very well indeed. Ashens, of course, known as Eddie now, was doing his job as well. And it just seemed like Elevate just didn't have that individual flair. Jack Vex wasn't doing his usual job inside the trading post. And Elevate, they looked deflated, if anything. They looked very passive every single round. They were playing for retakes when really a team like Elevate should be pacing the game as they used to and not be put in such pressured rounds that Oxygen really set up for themselves. And you know what? I tip my hat to Oxygen. The winning Icebound Elevate's pick. They're looking good going into the second round.
I said 2-1. I'm not too sure on that now. This could be 2-0 the way that
oh my, imagine.
Hellish performance from Oxygen. Everybody just turning up when they need to. There was a couple of really, really big gunfights, and the only reason that final round wasn't over is because Phelpsy went massive inside the trading post. Found 2, but ultimately wasn't enough. The difference was always so big for Elevate to come back from, and then finding yourself 4-1 down on top of that as well was always going to make things difficult around number 6. So there you go. Oxygen are going to take map number 1 in convincing fashion as well. So we're going to head over towards training grounds, and Elevate are going to have to find 2 in a row here, and the last one's going to be Vasgar. It's a tough order, it has to be said.
It's definitely not a preferred cycle for Elevate now. I'm pretty sure they were feeling comfortable, right? Feeling confident about Icebound, but training grounds of Vasgar are just on the other end of the spectrum for them. Yes, Elevate are usually very confident in any map they play, but if you were to pick out any of the maps in the cycle, training grounds of Vasgar are on the other end of the list for them, honestly, in favored maps. And with losing that first map, they'll perhaps, Elevate are concerned, very concerned at this point in time going into the second map. And not happy either after that one.
I would be. Honestly, I just don't know what's going on in the Elevate camp right now. Maybe they're, I don't want to say it's, struggling as a team or anything. They've been together for a very, very long time, but maybe the motivation's not there or something for them at the moment. I just can't quite put my finger on it. It just seems as if they're not performing to the same level. It's not clean. It's not, that precise Elevate gameplay as we so often do see. They seem to have a bit of everything at times, but it was just a flat performance on Icebound, in all honesty. And I'm interested to see what happens here on training grounds. But again, full credit to Oxygen. They played fantastically there. Every single one of them had their moments. And, when it was over towards B in the first half, everything was looking good there in terms of, trading these hills away. And then when it comes down to that second half, these initials, they start to do well there. Even when Elevate don't want to engage in them, somehow they manage to get a hold of those middle hills. They do well with their power weapons. The incense coming out of Ashens were very, very good as well. Honestly, a pretty faultless performance in terms of Oxygen. Honestly, I couldn't say anything that I disliked from them. Everything was very, very solid, performing on every single level. Let's see if they can continue that over into training grounds, though, because, Elevate, they're going to have to step up here and step up big time.
Absolutely. The first map might have been a storyline, at least from our point of view, of Elevate not performing, but we have to give it to Oxygen. They played so well, didn't they? They were so good. On all of their rotations, they were on point. Just to talk about a play, right? Cougars, he overextended to the enemy's home hill. We thought, it's 2v1. The likes of Elevate won't let him get away. Not only does he get away, but he gets a kill. Rotates back to the B hill and keeps E hill rather, and keeps the other team back in their spawn.
That was ridiculous. I mean, that was the moment for me where the map was pretty much done. The fact that he managed to get away on top of that, I mean, he was literally full red. Turns around, gets the kill from... It was even a strange angle from our point of view anyway, and ridiculous. The fact that he gets away on top of that as well. His team were cruising, looking good here. Our Oxygen, as we can see, they are 1-0 up here in this series. A 5-1 win on Icebound has put them in a very, very nice spot. Knowing that Vazgar is going to be coming up last as well, I'm interested to see which way this one goes. And of course, you know, Oxygen picking Vazgar against Rated R last week. They'd be happy to head into that map number 3 if they need to, but they're heading over towards their first pick training grounds now with a 1-0 lead. Which way are we thinking this one's going to go, Toby? I mean, it'd be hard to bet against Oxygen right now. It really would. Neither of these teams playing this map so far, but bear in mind, it is an Oxygen esports pick as we head into map number 2.
Well, one thing's for certain, Chris, my prediction is out of the window from the map 1.
Man, I'm a Gears esport expert.
The expertise is on show right now for you, Chris. And a shock performance for the first map. And Skills off to a flying start already. Jack Feck's trying to do what he can on the front line, but Skills with the double kill. And that's control of up top for Oxygen. But Elevate doing a much better job on the B hill down bottom. And we were talking about it before, Chris. You know, Elevate, they needed to come out today swinging and continue in a flawless fashion after losing that first match to Radar in this league. But they're deflated. And they need to do better this map.
They do. It's an important game for them, as they're really going to have to turn things on in the second half when we do kick it off next week. Right now, the Oxygen are the ones in control. C and B in their favor. Neddy and Co are just going to try and lock this one down. Cougar's in a really, really bad spot. He is going to get taken down. Nothing much Ashens could do from that point of view. And suddenly Elevate find that kill. They find Cougar sleeping. They get control of B. And we'll just back on down. Interested to see how both these two teams play this, though, Toby. As I said, it's not necessarily one we see picked too often between these two.
No. I mean, it's definitely a map that we don't see Elevate on often. It was much more so other teams, the amateur teams that are playing on this a lot in the European Major. And so, yeah, it's interesting to see Elevate play on this one. But again, very passively positioned. They were going on the hard hold on the B hill. Auction were very correct in eventually pushing the home hill, but the rotation does come on through. Elevate are on point on that at the very least. Hydra finding one. With that numbers advantage on this side of the map, Elevate are going to try and respond by perhaps pushing the enemy's home hill. The B hill actually held on as well, so this is good from Elevate. I think Auction will respawn, in fact, as they do take this one. But again, a little bit passive from Elevate in that midpoint positioning-wise. It's just a kind of like an insight into the current psychology on that side. But a nice snappy rotation, a lot more like the Elevate we know.
Much more like it. Can they continue this one, though? Loadout's looking like they're going to be at least put in for Elevate here. No surprises there. It's very much something we've become very much accustomed to. Ever since that first major event, a lot of these European players very much going towards those loadouts to help them on these initials. Utility grenades for both sides of things, so let's see if these help this time round. It was pretty much Oxygen who won that initial last time around, Toby. Couldn't make it count.
Yep. Elevate had to pull out some amazing retakes on that B hill to keep themselves in it. Definitely didn't make it easy for them, Auction, as they won the initial last time. Let's see if it's any different this time round. Cougar's lovely steam train on Crimson's. Jack Feck's taken down. Cougar's seeing if a push is possible. He doesn't like what he sees. Skills going to also return here. And the rotation starting to come into action here on the B hill. Cougar's just going to take up God spot. Very simple push from Auction. They went up top. They come down bottom for their capture, and now Elevate are trying to get themselves back into the mix up top. Lovely little back out there for Auction, though, to make sure they don't get taken out in the process.
Another really good start for Oxygen. Can they keep it up? Last time around, they just didn't have enough bodies inside of B. And Elevate just seemed to just force their will there every single time. But a couple of downs coming in for both these teams. Fractures will get rid of Jackfax. Will get his teammate up as well. Jack going to bleed out. Phelpsy will be taken down. And B is held this time for Oxygen, which was ultimately their downfall in the last round. Cougars overextended as well, but it is just that, an overextension. An overzealous one as well, but can Elevate actually hold on here? Skills is going to push on through. Chris is going to find them. Is there anybody else there? For Oxygen, as they did look for C. These respawn timers are pretty long still here, but Fractures the Secret Man finds one. Can he find a second as well? Fractures are going to be in a huge play. Couldn't quite finally land that last shot onto Phelpsy. But really well played by Fractures, but the execution not quite there. But here we go. The push coming on through for Cougars, who has got there and stopped the B-cap. Coming on in for Elevate, who will be taken down, and he will pay for it with his life. Eddie, Cougars, both dropping down. And eventually, B will be in the hands of Elevate, but Oxygen still with the lead.
Ooh, Hydron almost getting down that. They've got a player in God spot have Elevate, but Oxygen they have control of up top currently. As they look down from that balcony. I'm wondering, will Oxygen just push on through heavily? They will try to go through the middle. Ashen's great movement, able to get that last shot on Crimson's as none of his shots connected too well against Eddie. The Lancer's really helping him out there. Here's the angle, the pinch from all sides, but D-Cap coming on through and Oxygen have made it work. Very difficult play to be made through the middle, but Ashen's did the work necessary by getting that one kill. Now 25 seconds on the clock. Once again, it's Elevate that are reactionary. It's them who have to throw themselves back into the game.
It's too easy for them to push on a B, in all honesty. I would like to think that Oxygen are maybe concentrating their resources elsewhere, but it seems not. They've tried to keep them off it, but it just takes one little push coming on through. But here we go, Fractures now, making the push over. 1v1, or maybe that 2v1. His Skills is here with him as well. Crimson's has to go massive. He's going to be forced away. Oxygen are going to be able to at least decap this one, but Hydron coming on around behind. A couple of kills now going to start rolling on through for Elevate. The win condition, though, still with Oxygen. I love that overextension. They wanted to seal it, but now they need to hold on to A. The rest of the team coming up off respawn in just a second. They just need to maybe find 1 or 2 kills here. Cougars and Kodo trying to hold on as best they can. He's still inside the hill, but look at the flurry of kills coming on through for Elevate. It's not going to be enough.
They literally had 3 bodies in the end on that last hill. And it's the storyline for me. Elevate are just... They have to play out of their minds in the closing moments to make up for past mistakes or amazing plays from Oxygen. And they shouldn't have to do that. They shouldn't need to clutch up every single round to keep themselves in this game. It's not like them whatsoever. As we know, the weapon placements won't change up too drastically. The grenade meta is still very much upon us. But Elevate, they need to do better on the initials for a start up top. That would definitely help them. Crimsons and Jackfax have been outclassed currently by Skills and Cougars on that front. Hydron's going to rotate the flashes over. Already Crimson's been taken out. Jackfax is going to get overwhelmed, swarmed essentially by 3. And Hydron forced to pull all the way back to the A-hill. Concerned for his life I was for a second, but Oxygen will not elect to push on through. And even capturing the B-hill as well. Again, Oxygen, they flood the map, and they make it work.
Nicely done. They get a hold of B once again. And they've had this initial control nearly every single round so far, albeit this is only the 3rd that we've seen on training grounds. But it just seems as if they've let it slip a little bit easily now and then to Elevate, who've just really forcefully taken it every single time. So I'm interested to see if Elevate can do that one again, or Oxygen maybe set up a little bit better for it this time. You can see, though, Elevate concentrate a lot of their resources over towards top bridge. Maybe a C push is what's in the offing here. You can see, though, Oxygen well set up for it. They know exactly what's going on. Oxygen are going to try and counter it if they can as well, if this push doesn't work out. Hydron is going to drop down first, though. It's going to be Skill, dropping Jack as well. They are already dropped, though. Are they going to be able to get cleaned up? Hydron goes down as well, as does Jack. So well defended by Oxygen. They lock in the middle of the map. They will keep a hold of B, and they may well look for a little bit more. We can see the push for A is already coming on through. Phelpsy in a bad spot here. He positioned himself to try and play the Secret Man, but he can't quite find himself in anywhere. What is that flick by Phelpsy? Fractures gets dropped, and suddenly Elevate are in a position to get a hold of B. They maybe have only momentarily stopped this round going over towards Oxygen.
Yeah, incredible reaction shot from Phelpsy there in the middle. Lovely flashy play, but his life will not last long as Skills picks him up and accounts for where he is on the map. B-Hill, so he can buy Hydrome though. Auction can win off one. I mean, just look at the top left. Only now are Elevate getting into triple-digit points. An Auction very close to that 250 mark, and this is a lovely flashbang. Hydrome stuck in the corner. One of the worst positions to be, honestly, when trying to defend that hill. And now, Elevate again. They're forced to react. They're forced to throw bodies over and eliminate every single player on the map to do anything, and Phelpsy's outnumbered currently. Fracture's not giving him anything, keeping his distance, takes him down, 15 seconds on the clock, and Elevate are nowhere to be seen.
They're trying to decap B here as well, Oxygen. They're going to manage it. The Swarm win condition is about to be cut in half to 3, and it's very, very clean out of Oxygen. 2-1 up now. Looking nice on training grounds. And that time round, they just make sure they hold where they think the push is going to come through for Elevate. And it was just a hold over towards the, I think it is obviously the new middle on the second half, of course, when we move over towards E.
Yeah.
But they just held it so well. And it was just really, really good gears from that point on as well. Phelpsy nearly made it interesting, as he so often does, but unfortunately couldn't quite get there. 2-1 Oxygen now, who, you know what I liked as well? Even when they could have won on a one cap, they continue to be aggressive. Too many times we see teams turtle up. And I like to see that aggression coming out. They're fighting further up the map, so there's further for Elevate to go, even if they win the gunfights.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a big contrast in positioning there on that double cap. Auction in the center of the map up top. Look at this. Elevate trying to be aggressive. Auction pick up Hydrone as he runs through the middle. That shot grenade will just about catch a player there. Eddie getting down. Phelps to clean up. This is much better from them. A lot more aggressive. Starting to get kills on the board. Not losing that shotgun battle on the opening cover. And also have good presence down bottom.
I tell you what's a good job that shot did actually land from Elevate. Because to be honest, the fight wasn't really looking like it was in their favor at all. Hydrone is going to be able to push in towards B there, but Oxygen will be able to clean up. A though, going to go over towards Elevate, who are happy to sit on this home hill capture. See, now Oxygen need to make a decision on what they want to do here. Do they overextend and go towards B, or do they just forcefully take back their home hill? Looks like the latter. Crimson's trying his best to keep a hold of it, and if I was Elevate, I'd probably be trying to get the hell out of dodge right now. Fracture's really good shots.
Oh,
Oh my god!
He's on fire.
Through players. Oh, this is when practice gets dangerous, but that was his third down, and Crazed will send him to the grave. But eventually, in the favor of Oxygen, that sort of fracture scares me.
yeah.
It's just every now and then he comes up with a couple of plays like that.
Yeah. Crimson's nice little break of the hill there. We'll get to cover. Auction picking up kills up top as well, but it's a lot better from Elevate, honestly, this round. They're a little bit more aggressive. They're trying to get up close and personal, get those kills, and assert themselves on the map a bit more, rather than just sitting back passively back on their home tower.
Look at the lives. Bottom left, Hydrone and Jackfex. Cougars as well.
That's definitely a consideration, yeah.
Yep, they're going to be important towards the end of this round. Especially when you're going to play like Jack, who you want in there first.
Hydrone as well, honestly.
Yep.
He's the man to run through the middle of the map, essentially, and go for flanks. He's the man who does that. But that's going to be very difficult here. 30 seconds of the clock. Is deja vu again, Chris? Yep. Auction are forcing Elevate to make horrible, difficult decisions that are not in their favor.
Oh, Jack's been down. Jack is gone. It's momentarily a 4v5. Fractures finds 2. Phelpsy and Kratos go down. And they just walk into each shots. It's very, very easily done. They're going to look for C here as well. Hydrone going to have to come up with a miracle. He's already been downed. He's already dead. Crimson's now left a little bit alone here as the rest of his team start to come off respawn. I don't think it's really going to matter in the grand scheme of things in this round. Cougars, can he find the kill as well? Just put the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. Is Oxygen are about to take a 3-1 lead. Irrelevant of Phelpsy's flashy plays towards the end. 3-1 now. Oxygen looking so solid here against Elevate.
They are. That they are. And with the second half upon us, I would not be surprised if we see a drop shot placement on this map. We talked about it in the European Major that a number of teams do like to place that weapon on training grounds. And if Elevate, they have another difficult initial that just doesn't seem in their favor. I wouldn't be surprised if they shake things up. Perhaps a drop shot down bottom to split up some players. Because Oxygen have won every single time up top on that initial. Apart from that one round that we saw before. This is do or die now for them. Especially with the E-Hill up top. Here we go.
Here we are. Into it now, and really you feel as if Elevate have to turn around pretty quickly. Big fight over towards E though. Can Fractus continue to do what he's been doing? 8 kills, 8 assists, 6 deaths. It feels like he's been a bit more influential on the map, but still not a bad return, as once again, it's far too easy for Oxygen to get a hold of these middle hills. Elevate are just not there to answer, and Oxygen are very, very proactive. They push in there, they get a hold of it, they get out.
Elevate definitely not really feeling themselves at the moment. You know, when another player is working a hill like that on the E-Hill, you'd expect them to perhaps make a play up top at the very least and challenge a 3v3, but not the case yet. Cougars will find Phelpsy, Crimson's getting taken down as well, and all of a sudden, the 3 remaining players are just forced to cocoon up top. They're going to get pinched here, and they need to fight their way out of this. Kray's trying to run out the back. Jackfax picking up a kill on Zorkos just behind. So they're still alive, but still forced to push out.
Cougars is there to clean up the pieces, as Krays did find skills. Which way these fights are going to go, though? It's actually Fractus going to be down by his teammate, then Hydron will clean it up, but Hydron not landing anything, and Cougars landing everything. He is going to go in the hands of Oxygen. The lead is already in the hands of Oxygen. They're 1-0 up in this series. There's a brave player coming out of Ashens, but we'll get inside the lower end of bridge. But I think, once again, in the hands of Oxygen, it's always Elevate having to fight from behind.
They have only themselves to blame right now. Oxygen may be playing incredibly, but this is not the Elevate we're used to. They're not themselves right now, decision-making wise or individual slaying ability. 20 seconds ago, they've quickly changed their strategy at the last moment, the last hurdle, and overextended. Fairly simple for them to actually break that one, as Oxygen have clearly designated their strategy to turtle up on that central hill. And it's do or die for Elevate now. They're trying to go for the pinch.
They gotta go. Swarm win condition is there on a 1-cap. Problem is here for Oxygen, they're stuck and they're about to be pinched. Can they manage to deal with this one? Crimson is the first one to go down. Elevate need to be perfect here. Phelpsy does find one, but honestly, is it going to be enough? He's going to find Fractus as well. He jumps onto E. Decab is in. Is there anybody else anywhere for Oxygen? They've just concentrated all their resources over towards E. They lost the gunfights, and all of a sudden, Elevate win the round. And I said as soon as that fight started, they've put themselves in a bad spot. They needed to overextend or drop back to something, or at least have another option if the full fight didn't go their way. It didn't. They lose that fight, they lose the round, and all of a sudden Elevate are way back into this game.
Yeah. Essentially, you're going all in on one hill. As you give up that last hill, it'll be difficult to retake, so instead Oxygen, they just elect to pile all the numbers into one spot.
The problem is where they were positioned as well, with it being E. It's so difficult to defend it from both angles as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's easy to defend from one side, but when you have angles, even if you're blocked off by a shot grenade, you can just lancer the backs of the players and also make plays up top. And definitely Oxygen, one player perhaps should have left himself back on the home hill. Cougars wants to change things up with an opener on Crimson's. Excellent job from him. Jackfax will get taken down as well. With only one player up top, Cougars is on fire right now. He's doing all the work necessary to get his team winning on front. Zorkos is quite considerably winning a shotgun fight here against Hydro. No damage put his way. Krays is taken down as well, and it is a little bit too easy for Oxygen. Finally, Cougars is taken out, but they do still have control, do the Swarm side. E-Hill captured up now. And then Elevate again on the back foot.
So there you go. Once again, Oxygen are the ones who can position and wait on Elevate pushing. They'll maybe be a little bit disappointed not to be 4-1 up yet, in all honesty. They were in control the majority of that previous round. And now Elevate have to come back again. Can they keep doing it, though? Racing Cougars finding it out here down this left-hand side as the push in towards D comes in from Elevate. Something a little bit different. Instead of just headbutting each other inside the middle of the map, they make the push over towards the home hill. Cougars, though, is able to easily transition over, gets the meat shield, and the rest of the team clean up the kills. Very nicely done. Will they overextend? Will they continue to push here if you're Oxygen? F is on the cards, but team members Elevate still here. Zorkos is going for a surprise. Nopsy goes down. Zorkos now in a position where he's going to have to force Jackvex to push out. The push starting to come in here from Crimsons and Hydron. They're going to be able to get in on time, you would imagine. Find Zorkos, but here come the rest of Oxygen. They're going to continue to push here, but all the kills starting to come through for Oxygen. It's 42. It's perfect. Gears of War once again. And Oxygen are breathing life into this Pro League, it has to be said. Elevate 42 down.
Who would have expected this right now, Chris? For us to be looking at this scoreline, not only in map count, but also in round count. My goodness me, what are the thoughts going through Elevate's minds right now? They must be absolutely flabbergasted that it's been forced to this point in time. They've brought out that drop shot I referred to earlier. It's down bottom. It's underneath. We've seen it before. It's going to definitely shift the numbers up, and they definitely need that. As this man, Cougars, on our screen has been doing so well up top. Can he do just as well down bottom? Crimson says no, picking up that first kill. And a second will fall as well. Can Fracture save the day? No. Crimson's wins that one as well. That's crucial. Eddie will surely fall now. Just about getting to cover. And that all-important drop shot picked up for Crimson's. Elevate are still in this.
They are still in this, and I wonder if they can get around going where they have control initially. Because they've really given it up to Oxygen far too many times. Craze now is going to deal with Eddie this time round, though, over towards the home hill. He finds the kill up top, so this is a little bit more likely, but he is going to be pushed by 2. He'll do well to get out of this. Fractures will get a hold of that. Crimsons, though, sends Zorkos to the Shadow Realm with the drop shot. Hydron comes in there to clean up the pieces as well. It's a good start to the round by Elevate, but they're only the first one that we've seen so far. In all honesty, it's been Oxygen in control every single round.
Yep. That's the kind of presence you want from Elevate on the map. That's what you expect from them. It's seeming like they're in all areas of the map at once. Now, Oxygen are forced to be reactionary. They're forced to go for a retake. 4 players over on this side, so they need to make this work. They've pushed off the players of Elevate back into the enemy spawn. There's the drop shot, headshot, and Fracture's making it a double. Phelpsy and Craze spring to life as they look to find Eddie, and he's forced to just essentially run out the map and avoid getting pinched, but Crimsons will find him. Hydron already going for the pinch on Zorkos. He will fall as well, and this is better from Elevate here. They're working so much better with a lot more speed and authority. That's the one noticeable difference in this game so far, is they've been a lot slower, a lot less clinical, and that's a lot more like it there, as now they're only 2 rounds away of leveling this map up. They have to be flawless at this point, Chris.
They have to be. And honestly, that drop shot comes in, it just creates a different element. It means that Oxygen can't just go for this normal push. Something different is thrown in. All of a sudden, they're thrown out of sync a little bit, if you like. And it becomes a little bit more difficult to win these rounds. Disable coming in from Elevate on the flash. What does Fracture choose to do here? Something down potentially, but they're going to get rid of it? They are.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
No surprise, honestly.
No, I
No
mean,
surprise.
I don't want to say it was ultimately their downfall, but it's something changed up, so they had to change the way they play it, and suddenly Elevate are the ones in control at the beginning of the round, whereas for the previous, 6, Oxygen have been able to lock in those initials fairly easily.
Yep, and it makes total sense, right? That they just go back to this normal strategy. Cougar's even beaten every player to that cover. Elevate are not contesting that whatsoever. Shot grenade's not going to connect either. It's made zero impact. You see Elevate, just all of these players just looking around the corners. No one's making a move. No one's really shooting anyone. As Oxygen have just taken control of this E side. They've got the cover advantage on that all-important U cover that Skills and Cougars find themselves on. And arguably, Oxygen are in the better scenario now. And Elevate have to question how they're going to get themselves out of here. Hydron pushing in. Nice little flashbang. Flashbang back.
Yeah, Cougars in a bad spot. Jack Fex in a good one. Finds 2, finds 3. Really nicely done by Jack. Oh my god. Was that 4 kills coming out of Jack Fex? No surprise. When this man starts to show up, it's very, very hard for anybody to deal with. Now, Eddie defending D. Where do Oxygen go from here? It's 2 rounds in a row that they've lost the initials, which has really been the lifeblood of how they've been playing. They can't win them, and suddenly there's got to be those lingering doubts. Nelpsty flash up. Counter flash comes in from Cougars. He manages to dodge the one that came in as well, so nicely done. Decap coming in at F. Cougars will probably just get out and allow Oxygen to recuperate what they want to do. Recuperate their resources over towards E, which is what they've already done. Fractures. Putting the shots down. Oxygen answer back and get a hold of E.
It's a nice shock as well. Delaying the retake for a little while for Elevate. And Hydro, he must be proactive. He's running across the map. Everyone's rotating for Elevate now. Cougar's gonna have to hold it, all the players off. Hydron perhaps a little bit too quick, getting it up close and personal. Players nowhere near for the chain revive. Cougar shuts one down. Craze will fall as well, and Crimson's forced to hold back for now. As Oxygen will surely get the score lead, maybe even leverage the numbers advantage into a triple cap scenario.
It's potentially on the cards. We can see though that the response have come on through, so Elevate not under threat of losing that FL just yet. Oxygen, though, just trying to spot out players, trying to decipher what Elevate are going to try and do. It's a push towards the home hill. Do they have men there? We can see there's a couple. And there's some good Lancer fire coming in. And once again, Elevate have to back down once again. Very, very good hold by Oxygen so far. They're 25 seconds away from winning this series. Skills now. If he can find a couple of kills here, then we're suddenly laughing. Oh, he's going to try and clean it up, but he's going to get caught. Can Elevate find anything off the back of this one? 15 seconds to go of your Oxygen. Zorkos, does he choose to back down? He probably can. D will do it. 15 seconds once again. Elevate have to go. Hydron is here. Jackfax is here. The boys are all here. Well, look at E. It's been decapped once again. Oxygen going to be fighting over towards that side as well as Jackfax and Hydron both go down. The swarm win condition is still there for 3 seconds. They're still getting points on the board. They're still there. They're in the hill. They've got the round. They've got the map. They've got the series. Oxygen 2-0 against Elevate. And what a game that was. Oxygen came flying out the gates. A 5-1 win on Icebound. 5-3 on training grounds. And that is a stunning performance out of Oxygen.
Take a breather, Oxygen, as they have just achieved absolute madness. 2-0, Chris. I literally predicted the opposite way there. I would not in a million of years actually expected Oxygen to win in that fashion. 5-1, 5-3. Not only was it so convincing in that one, but I'm curious now. What is up with Elevate to be playing in such a flattened way? They looked so much better in the last 2 rounds of play. As soon as that drop shot went down, they were so much faster operating on the map, getting kills, going off. But Oxygen, they just had way too many rounds of stunning performances as a team and individually that Elevate just couldn't come back in the end. And we'll be looking back at this, Chris, for many weeks to come. It will be a highlight of Pro League history in Europe, where Elevate have lost in a 2-0 fashion. They haven't even been 2-0 by rated R.
I mean, that is a big, big win for Oxygen. Look, for Elevate, they will look at this and say, right, okay, this second half, we need to turn up. They could still very much come away as winners of this Pro League quarter, but I mean, it's a tall order now, it has to be said, but you've got to give props to Oxygen. They were very close against Rated on last week, but this week, defeating Elevate 2-0 does make you question which way this this Pro League's going to go. It honestly becomes a 3-horse race now. Yes, okay, Elevate are sitting in third. We'll have a look at the standings now as we can just confirm it. No Mercy sitting at the bottom, but let's bring them up. Rated R at the top, Oxygen second, Elevate in third. That is, for all that it is a surprise in the fashion, I wasn't... we've seen Oxygen in week number 1, and it was hard to sort of judge where they were at because they smoked No Mercy. But with all respect to No Mercy, most teams, I mean, we're doing pretty well against them so far. But then we just weren't sure what sort of level was going to be there. A close game against Rated R makes you wonder, and then going in and beating Elevate 2-0, where do all these teams actually lie? That's the question. Yes, okay, we are going to see Rated R at the halfway point in the lead, and deservedly so. But we really do have an interesting prospect on our hands the next 3 weeks of EU Gears. As Elevate now sitting down there with a -7 round difference as well, by the way. I mean, Toby, for you, is it more so, are you sort of leaning towards Elevate misperforming there rather than Oxygen playing well? I think it was maybe a little bit of both. I think Oxygen played that very, very well, but that wasn't the well-oiled Elevate machine that we have seen over and over and over again here in Europe.
No, I think the round count was a result of a combination of the two, definitely. Elevate were not themselves. They were not pacing the game. They were not fast. They were not being individually as talented as we're used to. Even just focus on perhaps one position. Icebound trading post. Jackfax has usually been dominant in that area, even against the likes of Rated R. But there, it was Oxygen who were much more successful on the trading post, up top as well on training grounds, 4 rounds out of the 5, essentially, where the initials were up on that side of the map. That Oxygen were just dominating in, getting to covers faster. I think the psychology perhaps was way off for Elevate. They were not confident in themselves. They weren't pushing the usual fights, or when they did actually get into fights, weren't as successful. And I'm sure Elevate will have to have a really good hard look at themselves now and really question everything in the past week or two, because that was not the Elevate that we're used to. And now they have clearly a new opponent that they're going to have to really compete with and put all the effort into beating in future, because Oxygen, they look very, very good. If you flip the gamer tags around and look at the round scores and how they played and the individuals themselves, you would not be surprised if it was Elevate who were actually, on the other side. So to say that in this sense really goes to show how good Oxygen were in each and every single round. And you have to tip your hat to them, as they are looking formidable going forward, and they'll be super happy with that result. And Elevate, likewise, the complete opposite. And they'll have to have some hard discussions with themselves now, and I'm sure Rubik's will have a lot to say as the coach.
I think they will. I think, Elevate are used to a certain level of performance, and it just maybe wasn't there today. Oxygen get it done in 2 against our, current champion, if you like, in Europe. Elevate, ever since the Spring Major, maybe necessarily haven't been at the races. That's 2 losses out of 3, only beating No Mercy. So there is questions to be asked on that front. Of course, Rated R in our first game beat No Mercy 2-0 rather convincingly. They are very much still at the tippity top of the mountain, but you know what? Oxygen aren't too far behind. Elevator there as well. It's really heating up nicely. Toby, thank you very much for joining us here for the UK Gears Pro League once again. We'll see you again shortly, I'd imagine, and hopefully we will see more of the same from these teams, because there were some cracking games as well. But guys, we will be back next week. Do make sure you join us Mondays at 6 p.m. BST here at egl.tv/live. We'll see you for the next games.